Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. May I have your attention, please? Okay. I am the last speaker for today's session, but I am very pleased to see the hall is full. So obviously everyone seems to be interested in Operation Sindhoor. But it is always the last person who takes the team to victory. Now I basically by now so many of you would have heard, read so much about Operation Sindhoor. So why am I here, why am I talking to you is because of Shefali ji when she asked me to speak about Operation Sindhoor and defending Dharma. So there is a linkage to our ancient civilization, wisdom, and I am specifying on the wisdom part. What you have been witness to or what you have been seeing so far is information only. What is coming out in newspapers, what is coming out in media channels is information. But what is the analysis of that? What is the assessment of that? What are the lessons that we need to learn? And is it that lessons are to be learned only by a few people while we will only watch? That is not true. There are certain statements which I will make and I will request you to focus on that. My first statement is, nations go to war, militaries execute. So if anyone thinks that it was a military conflict was just a way of executing what the nation thought is appropriate through a mechanism where the political goals were given to the military and military planned it as per that and executed. Now I will specify this. Again, a lot of people feel that Operation Sindhoor started based on Pahalgam. Was that the start point? Let me take you back a few years and remind you that our Western neighbor, whatever you can describe, has always been a part of a global plan to tie down India. Our development and growth strategy or trajectory has to be stunted because our growth is so fast that the existing powers do not see you happily coming ahead. So let me take you back to 2014, 2015, and that is the time when Prime Minister Modi makes an attempt, goes to Lahore, end of 2015, while he is coming back from Afghanistan, breaks all protocol, takes a huge risk and lands up in Lahore with the aim of spreading goodwill to do what? To ensure that both the countries can be at peace so both countries can progress. That is the vision, that is the desire which the Prime Minister has, and within a week you have the Pathankot airbase attack. Within a week. Even then, there is still an attempt. We give an invitation to their intelligence agency to come and see which of their rogue group was involved. What happens? Nothing. Then Uri, in which 16 Indian army soldiers are killed. Now few of you who may not know, Uri is in Kashmir, absolutely on the line of control. And these soldiers, when they were killed, now I was the Director General of the Tri-Services Intelligence, which is called the Defense Intelligence Agency, and we all took a decision, the core group took a decision, and I was a part of that core group. We said this is enough. And you look at 20 years till then, 20 years before that, 26/11 Parliament attack, you look at Akshardham temple, you look at Bangalore, you look at Calcutta, you look at every place, the kind of terrorist attacks that has been inflicted on us, on our innocent civilians who had nothing to do with what was happening on the border. So what do we do? And how did it affect our society? Look at how your behavior had changed. Your children, you were told, look under your seat in the bus, is there an unclaimed bag? And if it is so, report. The entire life comes to a standstill. This is how we were growing up, which was not the best sign of a civilizational state. This is not the way you behave. You cannot always depend on non-violence and keep suffering. So when you start analyzing how did we react to various situations, when 26/11 happened, what did we do? Nothing. Why? Decision making paralysis. Then Parliament attack. What did we do? We mobilized. We mobilized for nearly 2 years. We were along the border. But even then, what happened? The army was not given, or the Army, Air Force, Navy were not given orders to go. So nothing happened. So what was this decision? This decision that we will go onto the border and be a threat to them and hope that Pakistan's behavior changes. It didn't. Now comes the time when you say, okay, if Uri has happened, and now I want to quote what the Raksha Mantri at that time, late Shri Manohar Parrikar, he told us in one of our secret meetings. He said, whatever pain has been inflicted on this side of line of control has to be magnified and passed on the other side many times more. And that's exactly what we did. But now again, I'm linking this. We said this was a terrorist attack, so the punishment has to be given to the terrorists. So the launch pads of the terrorists at 7 places were raided by us, destroyed, and we all came back safely. Not a single soldier got killed of ours. Now a lot of people, they have a misnomer. They say, this is the first time we did surgical strike. It's not so. Many years we have been doing raids across the line of control. My battalion, I have myself done that in 2000. But this time there was a difference. Now another thing, when we plan at the apex level, we are always very clear about one thing, that the same medicine should not be prescribed again. So this time we used the Air Force. And this time we used Air Force at one of their training camps, which was across the LC, across the IB is international border, at a place called Balakot. Balakot is a village closer to that training camp. Otherwise, that training camp is at a place called Jabbar Top. Precise missiles, precise rockets hit that particular training camp. Now, both during the surgical strikes after Uri and at Balakot, we learnt one lesson, and the lesson was, we were facing our own people who were doubting whether we had succeeded or not. And that is the worst feeling that a soldier can ever get, because in our training, we are never taught to bring evidence, because we start with the premise and end with the premise that my nation will trust me. And this was the worst feeling in our life that we have ever had. And by then I had put more than 40 years in the army. I don't think I had ever faced this kind of a situation where prime time TV debates were talking about whether we really went across, whether we really succeeded. I would invite these so-called people to come with us. I'm sure they'll come back with their pants wet. Now after 2019, Now the next time this happens, and 2019, you recollect, Article 370, we took a major decision and everything seemed to be going well. At times, the civil administration also has to be careful, because overconfidence can also lead to some lackadaisical approach. So when we say, why did Pahalgam happen? You know, it is always good to find your own mistake. And when we say, why did Pahalgam happen? There was a flurry of activity of tourism. The locals of Kashmir had never earned so much of money, which they started earning money because of tourism influx. 2.5 crore tourists and pilgrims both went to Kashmir. Now that was the time when the new DG Police of Kashmir felt that, you know, the presence of the military needs to be reduced and replaced by CRPF. It took time, because also please understand, the methodology of functioning, the ethos and the capability of the CRPF and the military is very different. It cannot be compared, and it cannot be said that one can be replaced with one. It cannot happen like that. And sure enough, we had to pay a price, because I had gone there somewhere in the month of November 24, and there used to be a company of our 3rd Battalion of the Rashtriya Rifles in that same area. So when they were pulled back, the CRPF did not go exactly at that place, but stayed down below at the road head from where the Amarnath Yatra starts. The amount of deprivation, hardships which a military man can undergo without complaining may not be so for everyone. So there was possibly a void, and this got noticed. How does somebody notice this? Obviously there are some locals, there are sleeper cells, there are sympathetic people. They would have informed. And this is how the whole thing got planned. Now during the daytime, it was mentioned that the tourists who had nothing to do with Kashmir or with India and Pakistan were gunned down mercilessly after ascertaining their religion. Now these things are absolutely barbaric, but here I want to point out this part, the version which I have just said, this was also doubted by our great intellectuals. They started questioning whether this was really, whether it happened or not. There were pictures available, pictures with tourists who were killed, their trousers down. Which person while dying takes his trouser down? So obviously things were there, and these are the fault lines in our civil society which are made use of by the enemy. Now, so far so good, which I have narrated, but during the day there was one more important thing which was mentioned about Swayambodh and Shatrubodh. Within the military services, this is a part of our training and education, that when we brief our people, when we prepare them, the first 2 columns of our orders are about information about the enemy and information about yourself. So we have well imbibed this ancient. What does the nation have to do? This is particularly important, please pay attention. When you identify your enemies, if I wake you up at 2 o'clock at night and ask anyone, which countries are enemies of India, I think immediately in your sleep also you'll say Pakistan and China. Now maybe because of Trump you'll say USA also. But all the same, if these are the enemy, these are the identified enemies. Who are your potential enemies? Potential enemies also include these countries around our periphery who are opportunistic and will play a game when it suits them. So you've got to be very careful about the potential enemies as well. Now, if you know that these are the enemies, then how do you look at them? you have to look at them the way Lord Krishna used to look at the enemy, to say the eyes or the vision or the prism through which Lord Krishna used to look at Pandavas was different, and the way he used to look at Kauravas was different. Here we are a civilized society. We have our own norms, ethos, traditions, beliefs, and we look at everyone with that same thought. This is the biggest mistake we make. When I start describing to you Pakistan, and I want to describe Pakistan to you, here is a country which is born out of its own will. We did not force them to get born. They were born out of their own will, and those who wanted to get born stayed here. So in the bargain, you have a 2.5 front, which General Rawat always used to say. Those who went across were minuscule, and bulk of them stayed here. And these are the sleeper cells, sympathetic organizations, who keep making your job that much more difficult. Those who went across, obviously, they had their own problems. They still have their own problems, that he is from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, he is from Sindh, he is from Balochistan, or he is from Punjab. But the domination of that nation is by the Punjabis. Their military is dominated by Punjabis. When the partition happened, while 28% of the land went to Pakistan, but 33% of the army went to them. This was a great imbalance, and that was that imbalance which caused a major problem, and you had within a couple of years the military staging a coup and Field Marshal Ayub Khan coming to power. Now when Ayub Khan comes to power and he watches India in a world which is a dream world, that they want to become the greatest statesman of the world, and everyone will love us, everyone will be peaceful because we don't have enemies. So you lost on that Shatru Bodh. And because you lost on that Shatru Bodh, and they were looking at us critically, so when in 62 we lost, there is no shame in accepting that in 1962 we lost. And it was not a military loss, it was a national loss. It was a national defeat. Why? Because Prime Minister Nehru felt that we don't need an army, and let these people get wasted out, let them retire. After that, we'll continue to do with the police force. The ordnance factories, instead of preparing or manufacturing guns and ammunition, were manufacturing coffee machines. This is a reality of 1962. Why I am telling you, a lot of you, especially the young children, don't even know this. Within the military, there was a lot of interference. The promotions, the appointments, the nominations were driven by family interests. General Kaul, who was appointed for the sector in Tawang, had no combat experience at all. And when the chips were down there, he was in Delhi. So that is the kind of terrible situation we had in 1962. All the good fighters became prisoners of war. They suffered at the hands of Chinese. When they came back, you all do not know, we have seen the kind of torture they underwent. Their backs, the entire skin was peeled off because they had been beaten black and blue. Becoming a prisoner of war is not easy. Seeing this, Ayub Khan decides that now in the year 65, Prime Minister Nehru has died. He feels that Lal Bahadur Shastri is a simple man, 5 feet tall. So he can be overpowered because Ayub Khan is 6.5 feet tall. And he feels that here is India at its political and military worst. And that is the time when he starts attacking. I was a child, school child in Delhi when this started. Lal Bahadur Shastri, in his booming voice, people used to love him. And he said that we are in a bad situation. We don't have food grains for our military. So he, as a Prime Minister, said he'll eat one meal a day and once in a week he'll have complete fast. Including me as a school child, we all did that. Why did we land up in that position? Too much of simplicity and innocence can be a major nightmare when the emergency comes. Anyway, the military did very well. We captured something which was one of the most difficult territory to capture, Hajipir Pass. Major Ranjit Dayal went across with his company and captured that. Many people feel that the ceasefire which took place was because we had lost. On the contrary, we were on the outskirts of Lahore at Ichhogil Canal. We were across that. 3 Jat had gone across. An Anglo-Indian commanding officer, Colonel Desmond Haid, was leading his Jat troops. You had Ranjit Dayal, a Sikh gentleman, leading his troops from Para Battalion, which were not Sikhs. So when we are talking of Indian Army, all of you have been saying unity in diversity. That is exactly what we are. We are a living example, provided people have the vision to see it. When Shastriji did not come back, he came back in a coffin. And I, as a child, have attended his last rites and I know exactly how painful it was. You lose a Prime Minister who should have continued for another 10 to 20 years to make India great. And after that, again, we got serious in trying to prepare ourselves. The military did what it did its best with Field Marshal Manekshaw. And 71 war was a major victory after World War II, when 93,000 prisoners of war and a separate country created. Now that, how did it happen? Professionalism. The interference from the political masters or the bureaucracy was just not acceptable. So when we talk about the military, military is the last resort to a nation. So when all of you talk about the factors or how we decide on national power, we say diplomacy, information, military, economics. No, this is what the West teaches you. This is wrong. Economics has to come before and military has to come in the end. So here comes the issue about we also in the military were shedding off our colonial baggage. We were getting into ancient wisdom, and very recently we did a project called Project Udbhav. You can go on internet and check. Project Udbhav is basically to rediscover our wisdom, because India is a land where we have seen major wars, major battles. This business that non-violence was something just in the last couple of decades. It had nothing to do with our heritage. And we have to learn lessons from the wars that our forefathers fought. So when we start coming further, and then Kargil happens, and this is all leading to Pahalgam. Now why does Kargil happen? Again, a lot of you have not connected the dots because nobody has told you. Somewhere in 1980, 81, 82, we find that the northern areas where we have glaciers, where Siachen Glacier is, which is our area, Pakistan very merrily was issuing permits to mountaineering expeditions to visit those areas. It is like I give a permit for someone to visit my neighbor's house. I have no lien over it, but I am saying that is my area, go. So in 1984, Captain Sanjay Kulkarni and his team of officers from Fort Kumaon go to Siachen Glacier, where the temperature is minus 45 degrees. The altitude is 16,000 to 21,000 feet above sea level, where the oxygen is so less that you can't breathe, and you don't have the luxury of oxygen cylinders for everyone. So he jumped from the helicopter. Before he jumped, he threw a bag of atta because he didn't know where he was jumping, because on the surface it seems it is snow or ice, but that could be just a cover over a crevasse, and if you go into the crevasse you just can't get your body out and you'll freeze to death within 10 seconds. So the complete lot lands up there. This was in 1984. 1985, Pakistan attacks, they are beaten back. 86, they attack, they are beaten back. 87, they attack, they are beaten back. 88, they again attack, they are beaten back. Who is the now the point is, who was the brigade commander for these 4 years who was leading these attacks? Parvez Musharraf. He lost 4 times. He had it in his mind that I cannot accept defeat, and when he became the chief, he did Kargil. So this is the story which needs to be connected. Your enemy, my enemy, will never accept defeat, and if he is still defeated, he'll tell lies and make a field marshal out of a defeated chief. So now with the social media and with the kind of digitization of media, even a defeat can be projected as a victory because it depends on your narrative, and you are a born liar, so you will do it. India believed in action more than words. So when we did Operation Sindhoor on the night of 6th, 7th of May, we decided, when I'm saying we, it was a decision of the CCS. What is CCS? Cabinet Committee on Security. A democracy always keeps the decision making to elected representatives of a democracy, and that is the CCS, a committee of 5 people headed by the Prime Minister. So it's the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, the Defense Minister, Home Minister and Finance Minister. These are the 5 people. Who advises them? The National Security Advisor, the CDS and the 3 service chiefs advise them. So they advise them that, look, as an elected government, you please decide what targets to be chosen and then leave it to us how to do it. What is to be done, you please tell us. Rest we will do how we will do. The choice was between 2, military targets or terrorist targets. The political decision was terrorist targets. Which terrorist targets? 3 Tanzeems. Tanzeems are those groups of militants: Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen. These are the 3 prominent Tanzeems which have been troubling India all through. There are a whole lot of atrocities which they have committed. 26/11, Lashkar-e-Toiba. Parliament attack, Jaish-e-Mohammed. All atrocities in Jammu Kashmir, Hizbul Mujahideen. Hizbul Mujahideen, Sayyid Salahuddin is their leader. And look at the travesty of justice. Sayyid Salahuddin belongs to Kashmir. His village is a village called Soibuk. And how does the government function in Kashmir? His sons are in government service of the state. What kind of scrutiny is this? It is only after the present government came that they dismissed these 2 chaps. Otherwise, they were busy enjoying the fruits of our taxpayers' money. The second person, Masood Azhar. Again, when you look at Jaish-e-Mohammed, it is possibly somewhere a mistake happened. In 1999, when the entire world was looking for a new century to dawn, that is the time around 25th of December, a plane, Indian Airlines plane, start from Kathmandu, is supposed to land in India, but Amritsar and then Lahore, then Dubai and then Khandare. Masood Azhar is one of them who's released. It is not the first time that had happened. Even during VP Singh's time, when Mufti Muhammad was the Home Minister, when his daughter was kidnapped, within a few days, Ghulam Nabi Azad's nephew is kidnapped, and a whole lot of about 20 to 30 terrorists are released. And this was the period after Kargil. I was commanding my battalion during Kargil operation and during this part of Khandare. The Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who was a thorough gentleman, was pressurized so much by the parents of the people who were in that hijacked plane that perforce he sent Jaswant Singh, Minister Jaswant Singh, and Mr. Ajit Doval also went in that plane, and or rather he was already there. Negotiations took place, a lot of hard negotiations took place, but 3 of these terrorists were released. They moved into Pakistan, and 2000, this happened in 99, 2000 and 2000, Jaish-e-Mohammed was created. Now Jaish-e-Mohammed since that time has been on a rampage against India. So if we say that the CCS after Pahalgam decided to go for the terrorist targets, I don't blame them, or rather I say that this is exactly, they had clarity of thought that we will go for the terrorist camps, we will go for the terrorist headquarters. What is your imagination about the terrorist headquarters of Lashkar-e-Toiba or Jaish-e-Mohammed? 6-story building, concrete building. Where? In Bahawalpur. Where? In Muridke. Those were the revered buildings where youth, Pakistani youth used to be brought and said, look, you will be a part of this system. These are the people who are teaching the Kafirs a lesson. Now we wanted to bring these buildings down to convey a message that nothing is invincible for us. So far what we had done, we had crossed line of control during surgical strikes, during Balakot. This time we said we will cross international border also and hit in Pakistan, Punjab. The power of Punjab is in these areas. Now the point here is, the military decides, okay, we will use these aircrafts, we will use these missiles, we will decide on the time, and we decided that this particular time will be such that civilians will not be there. This will not be namaz time. Whomever we are going to kill will be those associated with these terrorist groups. Otherwise at night 1 o'clock, no civilian has any business to be in these madrasas or in these headquarters. So night 1 o'clock, past 1 o'clock, Operation Sindhoor starts on the night of 6th and 7th of May. Scalp missile is used, and those pictures are available for everyone to see on social media. Videos are there. This time we did not make a mistake for our own people because we showed them evidence. How does Pakistan react? And immediately after that, there is a hotline, permanently hotline between the 2 Director General Military Operations. Our Director General Military Operation, Lieutenant General Rajiv Bhai, rings up his counterpart and says, we have destroyed your terrorist camps. We do not have any further intention, but should you retaliate, we have plans. And this is the deceitful. We were fully aware that when he says that Janab hum kuch nahi karenge, he is going to do it. And we had a plan which is called the escalation ladder. Today morning escalation ladder was mentioned by Jagannathan. So we always plan it in a manner that I do this, what will he do? And if he does this, I am ready with this. So that escalation ladder is always planned and prepared in a manner that when you finally do conflict termination, you should be a winner. So we had planned that. And how did he react? He immediately started his drones and missiles on whom? On our civilians along the border. He attacked our civilian villages at Uri, Punch, Rajouri, Jammu, Amritsar, Barmer. And what was the condition of the civilians? They had to be evacuated from there. Their houses got damaged. A Gurdwara got damaged. He tried to attack a church also. Now, this is where, when Shefali gives me that Dharma, what is my Rashtra Dharma? My Rashtra Dharma is protection of my population. And when today morning we were talking of what Kautilya said about Saptang and Janpad, in Janpad there are two things, which is my territory and my population. It is my Rashtra Dharma to protect both. Now it has got added. Now we are also in the age of new warfare, and in the new age warfare we are a digital superpower. So I also have to protect my digital sovereignty. So when Rajnath ji, when he speaks and he says, Bharat apni 1 inch zameen bhi nahi dega, means we will not give even 1 inch. Now we have to start saying, I will not even give 1 bit or byte. Everything of my data is my data. Nobody has any right over that. So we were prepared for that. So during Operation Sindhoor, one thing which has not come out very clearly is that there were a whole lot of cyber attacks on us. And we withstood them beautifully. I think 0.01% of those cyber attacks would have succeeded. But we did not make it known, because when such things happen, you have to tell the enemy you have succeeded, because he will falsely believe and then rejoice. So when we were talking about how do we behave, how does the military or the security system behave, don't believe in what you see in Bollywood, that the moment we succeed we do a bhangra. We don't. We don't even utter a word. We just look at what next, what next, what next. We keep looking at that. So in this cyber attack, we kept quiet. We waited and we saw where is the gap. We were doing the same thing to them. What was going wrong is what I need to tell you. So their drone attacks, we had beaten back. Missiles, we had brought down a PL-15 live. Now we are doing reverse engineering of that Chinese missile. The drones which we brought down, it did not, our counter drone system was not a very expensive weapon system. In Indian Army, in the air defense, the Army air defense, there are two types of guns which we have been using since 1965. The L-70 and the Zu-23 twin barrel. At a particular stage, somewhere around 2015 or so, everyone said, now we must shed this off. And some great Indian brains who are so good at innovations, the kind of innovations that we do, somebody said, sir, we can make use of this. Let's do some modification. 3 modifications were done on these guns. One was open sighting system, which is taken for aiming, was replaced by a digital system. The second, the entire firing mechanism was given a hydraulic system so that it becomes smooth. And the third, the ammunition was modified. It was given a kind of an airburst capability, that there is a swarm of drones of 400 swarms, and this ammunition goes and bursts. And with those pellets, it brings down 20, 30, 40 drones in one go. These were the ones which succeeded. Now I must tell you what was going wrong was our media. And I am not ashamed in saying that we made a fool of ourselves. There was one channel which was showing that, you know, the Indian Army has attacked Lahore. There was one who said, we have gone into POK. There was one who said, the Navy is destroying Karachi. What happens as a nation? Please look at it as a nation, don't look at it as a channel. The entire world says the credibility of Indian media is zero. Hereafter you say anything, they are not going to believe you. They didn't ask anybody. In fact, the Home Ministry said, stop, don't do it. But we still have some great champions who continued. Now, why did this happen and why is it happening? The fault line lies that our law is either weak or we don't have a law. There was a whole lot of spies who were detected, arrested, interrogation, put behind bars. The maximum sentence that a spy gets is 3 years. The act is of 1923. Where are we? Is this the way to fight a war? Here again I am trying to stress that when nations go to war, please don't look at military for every solution, whether it is information, whether it is law. We as a nation need to find our way correctly. So in the first session, Priyam ma'am, when she said that is India ready, and she said we are not, I agree with her. I agree with her fully. We need to do much more to be ready because the threats are real. And if we see whether this war that we fought, Operation Sindhoor, was it India versus Pakistan only? No. We were fighting Pakistan, China, Turkey, Azerbaijan and the great Trump, who had nothing to do with it, but he behaved exactly like that third empire who sits in AC environment and raises the finger. So the point here is, why do we expect, and since morning there have been people saying India doesn't have a friend. You will not have a friend. You as a nation and Israel as a nation will always struggle to find partners. There are nothing known as friends in international relations. You either have partners or allies. We do not believe in the theory of allies, because then it is conditional. You have to do something which your ally wants you to do, and that is the reason USA is unhappy with you, because in Quad they wanted us to fight China. India does not believe in fighting somebody else's war. Pakistan is always, it puts itself on offer for a price to fight somebody else's war. You look at how there is a difference between the two militaries. Not a single prime minister, president or a military chief after retirement settles in Pakistan. They are all either in UAE, Dubai, they are in Saudi. This person now will go to USA because he's been bought. There's plenty of money that has been given to him. So that is why he is parroting the language that has been given to him. One more thing. So when I am talking of Shatrubodh, I must tell you about their military. All our chiefs are living in their 3-bedroom flat in Noida, Gurgaon, Chandigarh, Mohali, Pune. That is how we believe, because this is my land. I need not go out anywhere and I have to stay with my own people. That is the difference. The other difference, the entire Pakistan economy, why doesn't it do well when Indian economy does so well? We were partitioned at the same time. Or they can say they were one day older than us. But most of the things, when I say most is in all bloc capitals, most of the commerce in Pakistan is controlled by their military. Ayesha Siddiqa's book, Military Incorporated, Military Inc., please read it. Ayesha Siddiqa is a Pakistani who has done a lot of research and seen that the entire transport system, the real estate, the industry, cement manufacturing, cornflakes manufacturing, sanitary napkins manufacturing, steel, everything is manufactured by that industry which is owned by Pakistani military. All the profits come to one particular place that is distributed among the members of those people who retire there. Plots are given for free twice in the career. We don't have this silly system here. And that is the reason when every time in Pakistan the democratic parties come and try to demand their political rights, the Prime Minister is sent to Dubai. Nawaz Sharif, one unique Prime Minister who appointed 5 chiefs of army staff and all 5 of them sent him going. So this is the kind of army that you are looking at. So please, for God's sake, do not look at them with that same innocence of Bharatiya Sanskriti. You cannot trust them at all. So when somebody says that, look, we are not going to do anything, and then they attack Punch, Uri, we know this is coming. When I was commanding my battalion and during the Kargil operation, my corps commander was Lieutenant General Khanna. He came and he asked me, Vinod, which is the battalion of Pakistan opposite you? So I said, sir, they are 15 Punjab of Pakistan. He said, I am a Punjabi and I'll tell you a secret. Punjabis understand a language of kicks. You kick them hard and they will behave. And in my entire tenure there, I kept kicking them and they kept behaving. You have to know how to control your enemy. And unless you look at them in that way, and all these issues which people say, Aman ki Asha, human rights, let's be good people, it doesn't work. It doesn't work with this lot of people at all. You listen to their media, you listen to those videos which are put out. Shahid Chaudhary is one of them who puts out. He asks a small kid who's studying in class 4, who is the enemy of Pakistan? He says, India. Okay, what will you do? He says, I will destroy India. Class 4th kid. Because this is the education they have been given. The history syllabus, everything is given like this to them. There is another person, he asks, India is planning to do Operation Sindhoor Part 2. That person says, we'll destroy them. But how will you destroy them? They are so powerful. No. We will destroy them. No, but you have some logic. हाँ, हमारे में जज्बा है और हमारे पास एटॉमिक हथियार है. This is his concept of destroying India. So when we went in for Operation Sindhoor, this is one point that you have to see. This was one high technology war which the entire world is acknowledging, because in this war not a single plane crossed the international border, not a soldier crossed international border, but the effect on the other side was felt using missiles, ammunition in a manner that they had to ask for a ceasefire. What was that? You heard about the accuracy, precision and speed of BrahMos. Now BrahMos is one weapon which is Indian property. For many decades we kept on depending on imports of our arms and ammunition, every weapon possible, ships, everything imported, something from Russia, something from France, and we were very proud of it. During our growing up stage, people used to say, India is so powerful that we are the largest importers of weaponry. I think we should have been ashamed, and we were ashamed. And that is when we started this Atmanirbharta initiative, in which we decided that we have to give it a push. We created a number of schemes. The BrahMos is a joint venture, Russian and Indian company, where the bulk of the share is of India. The IP is now with India. So this is high tech. Even in low tech, the AK-203 rifle is also a joint venture between Russians and India. This is not only enough between the government sectors. Now when we talk of transport aircraft, C-295 is an aircraft which is a joint venture between Airbus and Tata. And this is in Vadodara. More and more joint ventures, because we have been fooled enough for a number of decades that transfer of technology never happens, and by the time it happens there is new technology around. So we have started that new model of joint venture, and bulk of what we are acquiring now, we are trying to be Atmanirbhar, but here I must tell you, at the press of the button, everything is not possible. So some critical components will still come from abroad, but gradually we will ensure that the percentage of indigenous content by cost or by component will keep rising on India's favor. So when you keep hearing that the chips, the quantum mission, the artificial intelligence mission, we are trying to speed up. In a way, Trump is helping us because our young smart kids are coming back. A lot of NRIs have already started coming back. Pessimistically, a lot of people used to call this as a brain drain. We are optimistic. We said this is a return on investment. We have a young means about 35, 38 years old person in Atlanta, and he's got a factory in Texas also. He's from Pune, and he's very good in AI and robotics. I think about 10 years back we contacted him. We said, why don't you bring back your technology and money? You create a factory here on your mother's name. He did that precisely, and there are many of them. I'm just giving you one example. He has 70 people working in USA and 700 people working in Pune. So Operation Sindhoor is not only about military alone. It is about all those pillars of the comprehensive national power that we talk of. A lot of people criticized us to say we shouldn't have stopped. A lot of people said, what has Indus Water Treaty got to do with that? Now I'll explain both these to you. Why did we stop after 88 hours? What is our Indian vision and mission? Viksit Bharat 2047. My future generation should be in a developed country. The only thing this is missing here, but we on our own ensure that Viksit Bharat should be accompanied by Surakshit Bharat. If you don't have Surakshit Bharat, history will repeat itself and you'll again get enslaved, especially when you are rich. Because everyone will make a beeline for this country and you'll again be enslaved because you are again possibly intellectually deficit and you don't know how to protect your wealth. And this is again from the ancient wisdom. Some examples were given. We also believe in it in the military. The Shakti part, Shakti, Saraswati, Shakti of education. We want that, and we always train and educate our people very well. With that comes wealth, so Lakshmi comes automatically. But if Durga is not there, both will be lost. So that is the reason we must look at complete end-to-end solution, otherwise you will not have things properly. What else do we believe in our ancient wisdom? I went to Shantiniketan once, and the fourth generation caretaker who had been with Rabindranath Tagore, he insisted that he wanted to conduct me and have a dialogue with me. And when we were going around, so under the mango tree, there are circular open places where students sit. So I was amused seeing this because I had not seen this in any university. So he straight away looked at me and said, there are only two places in the country where such open air, close to nature training takes place. One is Shantiniketan and second is Indian Army. We sit under a tree. Our guru is in front. We are in a semicircle. He is looking at us. He is teaching us about a weapon, about ammunition, about everything possible. Most of our training is outdoor, not in air-conditioned environment. Because when we fight, we will be fighting with the vagaries of weather, not in air-conditioned environment. So that is the reason. There is another deep thought, which I do not know how many of you possibly will think of it. In our Gurukul system, there was no concept of backbenchers. Everyone was frontbencher. But when we blindly imitate and ape So the people backbenchers, they decide to sleep. I don't know whether they're sleeping now. But this backbencher concept is not a part of our culture at all. Everyone is connected to the Atma of the Guru. You are looking into his eyes and imbibing everything. So that is another thing which I thought I must tell you, that frequent accusations that the military is colonial, it is not true at all. In fact, many places we find that we are much more than that. Okay. Now, why did we stop at 88 hours is Viksit Bharat? Because wars are costly. If our entire budget gets into that, we will not be able to recover, because when you go into a full-fledged war, take it from me, 2 decades of your economics is destroyed. So you will have to postpone 2047 to 2067. So better teach a lesson, and teach a good lesson, and then put a threat that I am coming again. He can't sleep. Now when Operation Sindhoor has not stopped and Indus Water Treaty has been suspended, what does it mean? When nations go to war, your kinetic and non-kinetic leverages have to work. Water is a very good leverage. Why is it a good leverage? 1960, there was a treaty signed between the two countries, division of water of the 6 rivers which flow either from India into Pakistan or from China, India, and then actually it is not China, it is Tibet. So when these waters were divided, I think again we were in that falsehood. We are a great nation, we are a great civilization. We gave away 70% of this water to Pakistan and only 30% to us. I think this is the most foolhardy treaty I have ever seen. And in 2019, when I was in the NSCS, we decided to review this. A proper study was done by one Mr. Devinder Sharma, whom we took into the National Security Advisory Board. The National Security Advisory Board is a captive think tank of the NSCS. He, along with one of the university, I am not naming that university, they did a thorough job of it. And this presentation was given by us to the NSA. He looked at it, very happy. He went to Modi ji and he said, this is what we should do when we get a chance, and we should take 50% water and give them 50% water. Because our population is more, Punjab, Haryana are fighting for water, Rajasthan is not getting water for agriculture. So this is stupid. You are giving water to them, they are growing something, and then that growth, economic growth, they use that same money to buy weapons and fire at us. In those areas where this water is going, they grow drugs, sell it to our people in Punjab, send it all over the country, ruin our youth. So let's switch off the tap. That is the thought behind which we started looking at Indus Water Treaty. So somebody made a mention, Modi ji सुबह उठे और उन्होंने Indus Water Treaty suspend कर दी. We are in 2025. This study was done in 2019 and locked and kept for a trigger which Pakistan offered to us. Now, I know I have completed my time, but there is so much to tell. And why I want to tell you this is because what you get to see from media and what you get to see from people is second hand. What I am telling you is primary, because I have been a part of what we did in Uri, I have been a part of what we did in Balakot, I have been a part of Operation Sindhoor. My term had finished in March, and I kept telling Rajnath ji that it's been 6 years since I retired. Now I need to go to Pune, look after my family. My father-in-law is very old, I need to look after him. And he said, देखते हैं, General साहब रुकिए, देखते हैं. And 22nd April when it happened, I didn't have the heart to again talk to him about this. So only when Operation Sindhoor stabilized on 12th of May, I requested that, I think now we have stabilized, and I know for sure that we are not going to do anything, although we keep telling we are doing it. So on 16th of May I left. So whatever I have told you is from a position of knowledge and authority that I have told you. And my only request to all of you, because I am firmly of the conviction that everyone in this hall is a nationalist and a patriot. So most of the things which I have told you should not go out of this room. You must hold it close to your heart for the simple reason, if something goes out from here, it is the lives of the soldiers who are on the border which are at risk. There is so much which needs to be done for internal cohesion. And I had told M.R. Venkatesh, my good friend, that I will talk about the constitution. So this is the last point I am making. I am of the firm conviction that that half front needs to be corrected, and for that either a constitution amendment on a number of things or a new constitution is required. I am of the firm belief that charters, policies, processes are not cast in stone. They have a life, they have an expiry date. Things change, aspirations change, and you cannot say that whatever was given in that book, now nothing will happen. Why am I saying that? Last 70 years plus, maximum damages to the nation have happened because of two things: poor governance, bad law enforcement. It is a state subject. How can national security be ensured if you have Kerala on its own stream, Manipur going somewhere, Bengal on its own, Gundas in UP, the kind of political turmoil in Maharashtra? How can you have this? You obviously need something better, and that is exactly this good thought which came up, unity in diversity. Unity is something where people start saying federal structure. Okay, you dreamt of federal structure, it didn't work. Change it. You don't expect somebody else to come and tell you change it. COVID, classic case of health failure. Again, a subject which is uniquely divided between the state and the center. When we had to buy ventilators, Maharashtra government was bidding against MP in China. How can you do that? Every primary health center, as per a design, is supposed to have 5 rooms. One is for the doctor, one is for the paramedic, one is for the dispensary, one is for the medicine store, and one is for detention. Most of the primary health centers which I have seen have 1 room and a veranda. Corruption has ensured that 4 rooms have gone to somebody's bank account. Corruption is a major issue here that needs to be controlled drastically. Education. If we say that a child educated in Kashmir should be able to get a job in Gujarat or in Manipur, or today, is it possible? It's not. We need to get our act right on this. And the funniest part is about environment. How can environment be divided between states? There is a cloud which is coming from Maharashtra to MP. Maharashtra does seeding, it goes and rains in MP. There is a fight. There is a tiger which crosses, he is my tiger. How can that happen? Something wrong with us. We need to correct that quickly. And last but not the least, law, legal. No, I just want to say reforms is not a bad word. Judicial reforms and police reforms, much delayed. A very famous and a very good ex-DGP police, Prakash Singh, please Google, all those who have not seen, Padma Shri, he put a PIL in Supreme Court. Supreme Court gave a ruling for 9 changes to be done. It has not happened till date. Why is it not happening? There is something where the bureaucracy. And when we started about mock drills, all of you heard about mock drills. In 1965, when the air raid sirens used to blow and there used to be a trench opposite my house, we used to go and jump into that. Today, I rang up one of the district collectors and I asked, do you have a siren? He says, no, I don't have a siren. So after 1971 or after 99, we did not do mock drill, we don't know how to do civil defense, and we've left our security to God. How does that IS officer not understand that he is not a collector of British era collecting revenue? He is the CEO of this district, and he better think and behave like that. So civil defense, internal reforms, media reforms, we are making fools of ourselves. The whole world is moving very fast. Operation Sindhoor 2 can succeed only once we cover our fault lines, and in that every citizen is responsible. In any case, 51 alpha of the constitution lays down fundamental duty. The first line of that very clearly says that it is the duty of every citizen to protect the sovereignty of the nation. I just want to do a very rough check, please don't feel bad. How many of you have read the Indian Constitution properly, complete? Please look at this. And I asked the same question in one university. Nobody raised the hand, so I looked at the VC. He also did not raise the hand. So I asked him, at least get a copy in your library, the Indian Constitution. We talk about Constitution, and all those who talk about Constitution have not read it. They show a red book, I don't know, Mao's red book or what is it, I have no idea. In our Army Chief's office, in our Chief of Army's office, there is a constitution kept, and the preamble is on the wall. We all, military officers, General Bakshi is also here, we all respect the constitution so much that in entire South Asia, India is the only country where the army has not revolted nor done a coup. I think we deserve a big clap. I will stop here. Pardon my taking some time extra, and I am here for any questions that you have. In addition to whatever questions you have which you want to ask me, and I'll request Jagannathan ji and Shefali ji also that I will leave my mobile number here. Any one of you can connect with me on WhatsApp. I do not pick up unknown number calls, that I must safeguard myself on that. So you can send me a question, I'll see when I can answer. So any questions, please feel free to ask.
General Ji, now what percentage of our defense manufacturing is domestic and what percentage we are importing?
See, when we look at percentage of manufacturing, I look at every system, I look at every product, because within that product, that percentage actually does not give you the correct picture, because the most critical component of that, if it is Chinese, then the whole thing can be hijacked. I'll give you an example. If I have a precision guided ammunition, say artillery shell, and the fuse is not made in India, while cost wise or component wise it may be 5%, but that ammunition is not going to be effective to me. So what my calculation will be, the critical part should become here. 16 lakh engineers every year we are churning out of engineering colleges. Our IITians are going to Silicon Valley, but we are not able to get many of our things, and it's not somebody's mistake. 2019 we did corporatization of Indian ordnance factories, 41 of them. There has been some change, but there is still a lot that needs to be done.
Over the last 10 years, this indigenization has been taking place at a faster pace, isn't it?
Yes, now in indigenization, nobody gives you the best technology. You have to make your own drawings. You have to get your metallurgy. That metallurgy is not here. Rare materials are not here. So you have to depend on somebody. But in these 10 years, there has been a new culture of startups which has started. Now we have to balance the big fish not being able to eat the small fish. There is a gentleman here who is wanting to discuss with me about the startups. I will talk to him and I will see what we can do about it. So in these 10 years, what has happened is marvelous. In 2014, defense exports were for 650 crores. Last year we reached 25,000 crores. And by 2030 we want to reach 50,000 crores because that is the same money which we are going to use. And there is lethargy in the work culture because in this defense sector, two things are important. This labor union business has to stop. And second, the L1, the lowest bidder, because the lowest bidder is normally one who's getting things from outside, white labeling it and passing it on. So these two things have to stop, and for that, the military has no control over it because it is the citizen who has to be honest. It is the citizen who's doing some certification, who's doing some inspection. I'm not doing inspection, but I'm using it with the trust that the gentleman who's doing it in Bangalore or Hyderabad is honest. And why did we go for corporatization? Every week we used to have one accident of artillery ammunition, tank ammunition, and our soldiers were dying. This was shown to Prime Minister Modi ji, and he said, how can we accept all this nonsense? But we accepted nonsense for 70 years.
Once some 10 years back, I went to for the first time DRDO office and to meet one of my friends, and in the lounge there were many foreigners. Then I asked him when he came to take me inside, he said, you know, we are all dependent on foreign companies. So that was the position.
So this is exactly how I told you our thought process was. Foreign ka hai, acha hai. Hamara hai, galti hai. Now it is the other way. So we are saying, instead of getting a white skin, let me get my NRI back.
Okay. Excellent presentation. Thank you.
Excellent perspectives. In fact, I can't agree more. A couple of points. In fact, I did write to the Prime Minister on the day when the ceasefire was announced, and two things, you know, I found it a little odd. One is, for the first 3 days of the Operation Sindhoor, the Foreign Secretary was briefing the press. In my view, that was a mistake, because we willy-nilly internationalized the issue. What was the bilateral matter? For the first time, that hyphenation came back. India and Pakistan, you know, were put on the same level, same plane again. So that was a mistake. And he also was, you know, like a true diplomat, hedging his bets, you know, escalation ladder, which you quoted, you know, saying that we'll be proportionate, we will be doing this, as if, you know, we were doing a tit-for-tat business here. And I think that was a mistake, and I pointed it out. The Prime Minister, you know, truly acknowledged the email. The second point is, you know, what you mentioned, you know, the CCS in its wisdom said, you know, attack the terrorist targets. But the terrorist targets are part of the army setup in Pakistan. You know, the army, the ISI, and the terrorists are all. Terrorists are funded by the terrorist organization. The three you mentioned are funded by the army through the ISI. So, you know, you can't say he is enemy, you know, I wouldn't go after the other person, etc. And, you know, quite rightly, as you said, they didn't honor their word. They came and attacked us. They also attacked the military installations very quickly. So I think, you know, it's been said many times, Pakistan is an army with a nation, not the other way around. You know, the civilian government, in fact, reports to the army on international issues. That's why you had General Munir, or now Field Marshal Munir, in Washington, D.C., negotiating. So I think that mindset needs to change. You know, I would like to have your perspectives.
Two things. Firstly, in every situation, every conflict, we always have the foreign secretary starting the business. Even during Operation Vijay Kargil, we always started with that and then handed over to the military, which happened subsequently also. Because when you saw the media conference handled by the Director General Military Operations, all three, the kind of conviction and the kind of depth of knowledge they had, we don't expect anybody else to have it. So, and the point which is very clear here, a diplomat will talk diplomatically. A military person will talk straight. He means business. So when we showed them the evidence of the satellite imagery from American commercial company Maxar, it was for the entire world to see that we were not showing them the ISRO satellite Cartosat 3 imagery. Because if we had shown that, again people would have said, oh, you manipulated. So problem is here. And the other thing, whether this does leave an impact over our bureaucracy and the political leaders, that selection of your political aim has to be realistically done. And advice of military, obviously it will never come out in open as to what advice was given, but that will still be more realistic, and I think people do learn with that. And maybe when immediately on night 9th, when we went in for those 11 air bases and we destroyed those air bases and the radar stations and the air defense systems, the result was for everyone to see. So I think there are many things which cannot be spoken in open public, but after every war, conflict, undeclared war, you still learn.
With that, we will, sir, we will have to close now. If there are any more questions, maybe we can take it offline with the permission of sir.
Sure.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. It was truly an enlightening conversation and discussion. Thank you so much for all the insights that you've shared with all of us. We're truly honored. We request Air Vice Marshal Vijay Kumar Ji to kindly felicitate Lieutenant General Vinod Khandare Ji. May I please have Vijay Kumar Ji, Air Vice Marshal Vijay Kumar Ji on the stage.
It so happens.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It so happens that Air Vice Marshal had to rush for something, so I'll request Major General Bipin Bakshi to.
And as General Bakshi comes here, I'll tell you a small incident. How did Abhinandan get 9 missiles tomorrow morning?